Consent to sexual activity means that you are willingly engaging in sexual activity. You are deciding that you are going to have sex. You know what you're getting into, and you're happy to engage in that activity. That can be an activity between a man and a woman, between two women, between two men. The important part to understand about consent is that you want to do it and it's clear for you. Another aspect of consent is that if you're having sex with someone, you are also responsible for knowing that this person also consented. Okay, so you have to be pretty sure that the person with whom you're engaging in sexual activity consents as well. Okay, so this is sexuality. This is, a happy situation. In law, the notion of consent distinguishes between sexuality and violence, and we would include in the area of violence, of course, sexual assault. Okay, so you may very well be in a situation where people agree to have sex, they're engaging in sexual activity, but in the middle of it, for some reason, for one person, it's not really going the way they want. They don't really want to have sex anymore. They want to stop. And so at that point, they don't consent anymore. So that needs to be understood by the other person. And if the other person doesn't respect that wish to stop, then the situation changes and you become in a situation of violence and not of sexuality. Of course, there are situations where there was absolutely no consensual sex from the start, and the entire situation is a situation of violence. But that's the notion in law, consent, that distinguishes between the two, sexuality, violence. Law explains basically what consent is in general, but there are situations where the law says that even though the person consented in real life, in what happened, for a variety of reasons, the law will not recognize this consent as valid. Okay? So that is the case, for example, for children. So the law says that if you're below 16 years old, you cannot consent to sexual activity. Okay? That's in general. And there are a few exceptions for youth who are 12 or 13. They can consent to sex. They can have sex, and it's legal with other youth that are not more than 2 years older than them. And for youth that are just a little older, so that would be 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds, they can also basically consent legally to sex with someone who is not more than 5 years older than them. Okay? So the rationale behind that is that you want to limit consensual sex for youth to sex with people who are about around the same age. Okay, when there's a huge age gap, the power dynamic in the relationship changes. So I think that's where it comes from, this idea that it may be acceptable for you to have sex together, but if there's a huge age gap, maybe consent is not really willingly given. Maybe there's something wrong in that relationship. Maybe it's not appropriate, legally speaking, to see this situation as pure sexuality.